On that note, we noticed that the discussion mentions the ACT Early trial that investigates acoramidis for primary prevention in TTR variant carriers. So can you tell us about the concept of this study and its potential impact? And looking forward, what other studies are needed to build on the findings that you've discussed, especially given the relatively small variant subgroup numbers and the post-hoc nature of some of the available analyses?
Yeah, so I guess the last question first. So as you pointed out, that the subgroup analysis that we performed, so on a relatively small number of patients, 59 patients in the ATTR-CM study. So I would characterize this as hypothesis generating. It'd be great to have more real-world evidence generation of outcomes in patients with variants ATTR-CM as well as the V142I variant. So hopefully this will kind of spur further investigations. As you mentioned, the ACT Early trial is a study that's looking at one of the unanswered questions that we have in the field. So as we start to do more genetic testing, identify hereditary ATTR-CM patients, then we then subsequently think about doing cascade testing in first-degree family members. So people that are family first-degree relatives of V122I patients or variant ATTR patients have a 50-50 chance of carrying the same mutation and then conferring an increased risk for developing amyloid. And when we do cascade testing and identify these carriers, oftentimes the cardiac and neuropathy testing is negative when we do that assessment. And so the question always is, do we start preventative treatment, which we don't have clinical data to support that because the penetrance of these variants is incomplete. So some of these individuals, despite having the mutation, may never develop disease. But on the other hand, monitoring and waiting for amyloid to develop and then starting treatment also doesn't feel great as well. And so the ACT Early trial is looking at randomizing acoramidis to placebo and asymptomatic transthyretin variant carriers and looking at an outcome of development of amyloid to help us answer the question if preventative treatment has a benefit for this population.
That's fascinating and certainly looking forward to the results of the ACT Early trial. As a final question for you, Dr. Alexander, looking at all the evidence from the ATTRibute-CM trial, including this genotype-specific data, what's your message to clinicians caring for patients with ATTR cardiomyopathy right now, and particularly regarding genetic testing and treatment decisions?
Yeah, so I think the takeaways I would say from this latest study from the ATTRibute-CM trial, as well as the overall all body evidence, is that we have effective disease-modifying therapies, including acoramidis. They work well across different subgroups of ATTR wild-type variant, and specifically the V142I variant. And we need to continue to push to diagnose patients earlier because we know outcomes are better in this group. As it relates to genetic testing, it can provide a lot of helpful information for diagnosed ATTR-CM patients in terms of giving information about potential natural disease history course, whether or not we should more aggressively screen for concomitant neuropathy. And it also gives information for screening family members to hopefully identify at-risk individuals that we can monitor and either prevent disease or treat them as early as possible.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Alexander, for joining us today and for yet another riveting conversation. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, as always, thanks for having me.